This is your USMNT Abroad weekend update from August 18th to August 20th of 2023. Hi, if you're new here, I'm Filippo, and welcome to Tactical Manager TV, and welcome to a channel favorite, the US Men's National Team Abroad series, where every Monday and some Tuesdays, we update you on how the Yanks did abroad over the weekend. We're finally back. It's the first episode of the 2023-2024 season, and keep in mind, some players will not make the cut. If they're not really in the conversation to be in the US Men's National Team, or they play in some shady league that I will not cover, we're not going to mention them. But keep in mind, if you are a fan of that player, you can drop a comment in regards to their performance and let everyone else know. I read the comments, and if eventually they reach the status of a U.S. Men's National Team player, or they move to a decent league, which you're going to see the leagues we're going to be covering here in this video, I'll start covering them. So drop a like. Let's get the very first U.S. Men's National Team Abroad episode to 1,000 likes. Let's play the intro. Okay, and we changed the format for this season. We're going to do it per leagues. So let's start with the Premier League. And the first players we want to talk about in the Premier League are Matt Turner from Nottingham Forest, also Ethan Horvath that plays for the same exact team, and Austin Trusty from Sheffield because they faced each other over the weekend. On Friday, Matt Turner started and played the full 90 minutes for Nottingham Forest during their 2-1 win over Sheffield in the English Premier League. Austin Trusty stayed on the bench the full 90 minutes for Sheffield United once again. So Turner was very solid in this match, as always. He also made a crucial save at the 78th minute when the match was still 1-1, and then Forest later on got a late goal and the win and some extremely important 3 points. See it this way, both of these teams are relegation battle teams. So this was a massive win. Oh, and Ethan Horvath, he stayed on the bench the full 90 minutes for Nottingham Forest for obvious reasons. Matt Turner is the starter, almost like the US Men's National Team. So in regards to Chris Richards and Floating Balogun, Crystal Palace and Arsenal did face each other on Monday. Balogun was not even with Arsenal as he's currently seeking a transfer. Yes, he will be leaving. There are strong rumors that he could go to Chelsea. And Chris Richards is just essentially warming the bench for Crystal Palace. And there are also rumors that Chris Richards could be leaving Palace very soon. And there were rumors that he would go on a loan to the Bundesliga, which personally, I would love that. He needs to play, man, and Crystal Palace is just not giving him minutes. Now let's go to Fulham and talk about Tim Ream and Jedi Robinson. On Saturday, Ream and Robinson both started for Fulham during their 3-0 loss to Brentford. So A-Rob played the full 90 minutes while Tim Ream only played 64 minutes because he got a second yellow card, which led to a red card, which in soccer gets you out of the game. I don't know why I'm telling you that. If you're watching this video, you definitely know that. That same red card was also a penalty kick for Brentford. Now, to be fair, it was an extremely soft call. I personally would not have called it a penalty kick and obviously would not have given Tim Ream a card for that, but it is what it is, and we move. Lastly, I want to talk about Tyler Adams, not because he played in the Premier League, but because he is back in the Premier League before Leeds. Actually, there are higher odds of Leeds playing in League One, which would be the 3rd division of England, than the 1st division next season. But I don't need to talk about Leeds here. Let's talk about Tyler Adams. He has been officially announced as a Bournemouth player, or Bournemouth player. Did I pronounce that right? I did an entire live stream talking about that, so I'm not going to go into specifics. I talked about how he fits the team, how they are a much better side than they were last season, so go check out that live stream if you want to. Now, if you don't want to watch it, here's my opinion in regards to this move and my take. It's a good move, in theory, but we'll see how it actually plays out. Now let's go to the Italian Serie A, and why don't we start with Weston McKennie and Timothy Weah from Juventus. On Sunday, Weah started and played 45 minutes for Juve during their 3-0 win over Udinese in the Serie A. So Weah was pulled out at halftime, possibly because he was injured, or maybe it was just precaution. I'll have an update for that next week, we'll see. And Weston McKennie was the one that was subbed in for Timothy Weah. And yes, both of them played as right wing backs. You see, there's something about European coaches that just makes them really want to play Americans as wingbacks. They just really love it. It's almost like Berhalter wanting to play 10s as wingers. European coaches have that. More specifically in this case, Allegri, which he is a pure soccer terrorist. but he's still in charge of Juventus. In regards to their performance, Timothy Weah played okay at best. As for Weston, I thought he did a bit better. I thought he did actually fine. He was far more involved than Weah and looked much better on the ball while playing at the exact same position. He had some good combination play. His off-the-ball movement was a bit better than Tim Weah and very solid on the defense. I thought Weston was good and Weah was all right. For this match, Timothy Weah had 19 touches. He won 2 out of 2 tackles. He had 1 block, 1 clearance, and 2 recoveries, but that's pretty much it. As for Weston McKennie, he had 25 touches, 3 tackles, 1 out of 3, 3 clearances, 1 headed clearance, 1 interception. He also won 3 out of 4 ground duels, and he won all 2 of his aerial duels. Keep in mind that Weston McKennie was also coming back from a minor injury. That is some context that is very important to be mentioned. Still in Italy, we have the 2 players that play for AC Milan, and that is Christian Pulisic and Yunus Musa. On Monday, Pulisic started and played 72 minutes for Milan during their 2-0 win over Bologna in the Serie A. And this was Christian Pulisic's debut in the Italian league, and it was one heck of a performance. Seriously, it was tremendous, big, fantastic. It was one heck of a game from Christian Pulisic. Let's put it this way, Milan had 2 goals, and Pulisic was directly involved in both of them. For the first goal, he got a hockey assist, which if you don't know, a hockey assist is essentially the pass before the assist. So it's the pass before the pass that leads to the goal, which again, it's very important. Now, the second goal was scored by Christian Pulisic himself. He scored their second goal from a beautiful long-range strike after a brilliant combination play from Pulisic and Giroud. It was truly a golazo. Now, I understand that this is just one match and I don't want to overhype it, but let me talk about a few reasons why I think you should be very optimistic in regards to Pulisic's season with AC Milan. One, we saw how well he combines with Olivier Giroud, but we kind of already knew that. Now, Pulisic also played as a right winger, which is technically not his best position. He's better on the left wing, but he was given a lot of freedom to roam and drift inside, which is how you get the best out of Christian Pulisic, and he looked extremely good. I want to say also that he looked very sharp, and his dribbling ability was amazing. He was blowing by defenders with ease at times and nutmegging players. I want to also say that he looked extremely happy, which, trust me, it is something that's important for the player's confidence, and that was actually something that was somewhat of a rare sighting while playing in England. So for multiple reasons, I am extremely optimistic about this season for Christian Pulisic now after this game more than ever. As long as he can stay healthy, this should be a great season for Pulisic and Milan. But again, he needs to stay healthy, which has been a major issue throughout his career. Now, as for Yunus Musa, he was not available due to a red card suspension that he had to serve from last season in La Liga. Yes, he had to serve a La Liga suspension in the Serie A. It's pretty stupid if you ask me, but that's why Yunus Musa was not available for Milan. Now let's go to the Bundesliga, and let's start with Gio Reyna from Borussia Dortmund. Gio Reyna is still injured, which is extremely concerning, but it looks like he might be close to returning, according to Terzic. I don't expect him to be at the US men's national team September camp, mainly because he's injured and not because him and Greg have issues. I'm expecting them to get along. Even though Greg Berhalter did have Aaron Long do part of his rehab from the Achilles injury in 2022 with the US men's national team in camp. Let's just say Greg Berhalter and Aaron Long are closer than Gio Reyna and Berhalter. I guess Long and Berhalter get along much better. Next up is Brenden Aronson and Pifak from Union Berlin. On Sunday, Aronson started and played 76 minutes for Union Berlin during their 4-1 win over Mainz in the Bundesliga. So Aronson had a very Brenden Aronson-like game. You know what I'm saying, right? You get the picture. He was on the floor a lot. He hustled a lot, a ton, too much. But besides that, not much can be said. Nothing bad, but nothing great. However, I will say one thing. He did get a very nice hockey assist off sort of like a back heel that he provided to another Union Berlin player that crossed it in, and then a goal came off a header. So that was a nice one, and it has to be mentioned. He mostly played out wide on the left side with a lot of defensive responsibilities, but I guess you could say he played sort of like a left winger, left midfielder. As for Pifak, he stayed on the bench the full 90 minutes, and it is rumored that he will leave Union Berlin this season. Gladbach has been mentioned as one of the options. Next up is John Brooks from Hoffenheim. On Saturday, John Brooks started and played the full 90 minutes for Hoffenheim during their 2-1 loss to Freiburg in the Bundesliga. Statistically, John Brooks had a good game. However, I did not watch this match, so I have no opinion. If you did watch it, Let us know in the comment section down below, how did John Brooks do? After John Brooks, we have Joe Scally from Borussia Mönchengladbach, also known as Borussia not Dortmund. On Saturday, Joe Scally started and played the full 90 minutes for Gladbach during their 4-4 draw against Augsburg. Joe Scally created 2 chances along with having 56 touches, 6 passes into the final third, 2 blocks, 6 clearances, 4 recoveries, and he also did manage to win 4 out of 4 ground duels while losing all 4 of his aerial duels. Lastly, in the Bundesliga, we have Kevin Paredes from Wolfsburg. On Saturday, Kevin Paredes was back from injury and he started off on the bench for Wolfsburg during their 2-0 win in the Bundesliga, and he pretty much stayed there for the full 90 minutes as he was subbed in at the 90th minute. Regardless, the good news here is that he's back from injury. Now let's go to Spain, to La Liga, and talk about Luca De La Torre from Celta de Vigo. On Saturday, Luca De La Torre started and played 84 minutes for Celta de Vigo during their 1-1 draw with Real Sociedad in La Liga. When he was subbed out, they were down 1-0 and they still managed to pull a late draw. Luca De La Torre did not play as a central midfielder for Celta de Vigo, which is actually quite common. He played mostly wide down the right side of the field as a right midfielder, or some of you might even call it right winger. It's more of a right midfielder. Okay, we're done with the top 5 leagues in Europe. Now let's go to the other leagues in Europe, the good leagues in Europe, of course. I do also know that Emmanuel Sabi did move to Ligue 1 to play for Le Havre, something like that. I think I got that name right. And we will be covering him occasionally, but he's not really on the mix for the US men's national team, so sometimes I'll skip him. This weekend he came off the bench. There's not much to talk about there. So let's go to the Netherlands, to the Eredivisie, and start with PSV that has Malik Tillman and Ricardo Pepi. So for this one, I have good news and bad news. The bad news is Ricardo Pepi and Tillman warmed the bench the full 90 minutes for PSV this weekend. The good news is Ernie Stewart continues to bring to PSV US men's national team players needing a club. This time, he has brought Serginho Dest from Barcelona on a loan with an option to buy. This is ultimately the perfect move for Serginho Dest. He returns to the Netherlands, to one of the best teams in the league, and takes a step down from Barcelona. So there will be absolutely no excuses if he fails to impress this time around. The only thing I want to say is I've heard rumors that he's mainly being signed to play more as a left back or as a backup right back. So we might see a lot of Serginho Dest on the left back this season for PSV. We'll see. I'll keep you updated every single weekend. I'm not really an expert on PSV, so we're going to have to take this on a week-to-week basis. We'll see. But Serginho Dest has found a new home. Or I guess we could say he sort of went back home. Even though he played for Ajax, he still went back home. He's back at the Netherlands. Next up is Taylor Booth from Utrecht. He's currently injured, so he didn't play this weekend. So we're going to skip him and go to Jordi Mihailovic from AZ Alkmaar. On Sunday, Mihailovic started off on the bench and came in at the 74th minute for AZ Alkmaar during their 3-1 win over a team from the Eredivisie that I don't know how to pronounce their name. Okay, we're done with the Netherlands. Now let's go back to England and talk about the players that play in the EFL Championship, which is the second division of England. And why don't we start with Josh Sargent from Norwich. On Sunday, Sargent started and played 80 minutes for Norwich during their 3-1 win over Millwall in the EFL Championship. Sargent has 2 goals and 1 assist in the first 3 games of the season for Norwich. Both of the goals scored were headers. So in my opinion, Sargent should absolutely be in the US men's national team September roster. Let's once again talk about how he was our best center forward in the World Cup, which is a low bar, but still he was the best center forward we had in the World Cup. He had a very good last season with Norwich, and he already has 2 goals and an assist in the EFL Championship this season. I would not be surprised if he had 20 goals in the EFL Championship this season. I think he should absolutely be in the US men's national team September roster. The 3 center forwards I would probably bring would be Balogun, Pepi, and Sargent. However, there is another center forward slowly making making a case for being in the US men's national team as well. And he was also in the World Cup, and he scored a goal in the World Cup, an accidental goal in the World Cup. And that is Haji Wright from Coventry. So again, speaking of Americans being productive in the EFL Championship, on Saturday, Haji Wright started and played 79 minutes for Coventry during their 1-1 draw with Swansea. Haji Wright got the assist for their goal this match. I do want to say one thing though. Very much like his World Cup goal for the US men's national team, this assist looked accidental. It really did. His positioning was great, the run was great, but you see, the assist mainly happened due to a poor touch. Regardless, he already has a goal and an assist this season with only 122 minutes played. So now I was going to go to Scotland, but Cameron Carter-Vickers is the only American worth talking about there, and he's injured and also out of the September camp for the United States. So there's nothing to talk about there. So let's quickly go to Belgium, and we'll start with Gabriel Slonina from Eupen. Is that how you say it? On Sunday, Slonina started and played the full 90 minutes for Eupen during their 3-1 win over Kortrijk. Much better than his previous game where he conceded 5 goals against Club Brugge. He's also not playing for a great club, so that's expected. Next up is Mark McKenzie from Genk. On Sunday, McKenzie stayed on the bench the full 90 minutes for Genk during their 0-0 draw with Charleroi in Belgium. Now, you may be asking, is McKenzie actually benched for Genk? I do not think so. McKenzie started both of their midweek games for the Europa League qualifiers that they lost to Olympiacos, so he was likely just being rested in the Belgium league, but I'll keep you updated, but I don't think he's benched. I still think he's a locked-in starter for Genk. Next up is Brian Reynolds from Westerlo. On Sunday, Brian Reynolds started and played the full 90 minutes for Westerlo during their 2-1 loss to Anderlecht. And sure, you might be asking about Marlon Fossey, but as I said, I won't be talking about a few players that just are never called into the US men's national team unless they do something spectacular, like score a goal, get an assist, which he didn't. Lastly, we're going to move away from Europe and talk about an American that plays in South America, and that is Johnny Cardoso from Internacional in Brazil. And over the weekend, Johnny stayed on the bench the full 90 minutes for Internacional on Saturday, to be more specific. He was being rested because Internacional has a match for the Copa Libertadores quarterfinals during the midweek, which is the Champions League of South America. Johnny Cardoso is a locked-in starter for Internacional, and he has been called in for the US men's national team September camp. Yes, he was one of the leaks. He is there. Alright everyone, thank you very much for watching. I'm happy that we're back with the US Men's National Team Abroad series. Don't forget to drop a like to support the channel and subscribe if you want to. Thank you very much for watching. Have a great day. I'll see you guys next time. Bye-bye.